So first of all, Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope everyone had a good laycation. So now that we got our pun out of the way, today we're going to be talking about what foods to not feed your chickens. Unfortunately, there are a bunch of foods that are not toxic to us humans, but are toxic to our feathered friends. This is why when you're feeding your chickens scraps from your kitchen, you need to be really, really careful. And when in doubt, either throw it out or ask a veterinarian. Just as a side note, if you feed your chickens kitchen scraps, don't overdo it. My own recommendation is don't go over 5% of their daily diet with scraps, in addition to their normal diet of a commercial formulated feed. So, for example, if an adult hen on average eats about 120 grams of feed or about a quarter cup per day, make sure they don't eat more than 6 grams a day of other stuff. Maybe I should start doing that rule with my kids with candy or something like that. Good luck with that, right? Anyway, before we go over some of the common toxic foods in chickens, just some basics on identifying if your chickens are eating something toxic. So some common symptoms of poisoning include increased mortality, loss of appetite, weakness, loss of motor control, depression/isolation, convulsions, respiratory changes or distress, paralysis, and gastrointestinal problems. Unfortunately, these clinical signs are not specific to any specific toxin, and they can also be seen from other problems, including several infectious diseases. So the bottom line is that as soon as you notice a change to the health and well-being of your flock, toxin or no toxin, you should contact your veterinarian immediately. And if poisoning is suspected, mention any changes in diet or management. Time is of the essence when it comes to toxic foods. And you only have a few really, short period of time to really make an impact. Getting help as soon as possible will go a long way toward keeping your chickens happy and healthy. So the list of individual foods that are toxic to chickens is too long for this show, but I'm going to go over some basic ones. So I'm going to give you 11 ones that are relatively common. Number 1, avocados. So the toxic compound, persin, is found in all parts of the plant, including the leaves, bark, and skin. So pay attention to that. Number 2, moldy feed, old peanuts, unshelled nuts, visibly molded food. They have aflatoxins, which are produced by the mold, which can be carcinogenic. Number 3, the pits from stone fruits, such as apricots, plums, and cherries, and some seeds and nuts have compounds called amygdalin, which break down and form cyanide. Number 4, salt. So processed foods and human prepared foods, the recommended level of salt in a poultry diet is only about 0.2% by weight, or around 1 milligram per day. That amount of salt is already accounted for in their commercial feed. So small increases in salt from salty foods, such as processed foods, can cause salt poisoning. Number 5, parts of potato and tomato have a compound called solanin in the plant stems, leaves, and flowers. Also, green or spoiled potatoes and green tomatoes and their leaves also contain that same compound. Number 6, spinach, rhubarb leaves, star fruit. They have high concentration of what are called oxalates, which can cause severe kidney damage. Number 7, onion, garlic, leek shallots, those kind of oniony type things in large quantities can cause anemia. Number 8, raw beans have a compound called lectin, which can cause organ damage and damage the developing immune system. This toxin, interestingly enough, is destroyed via cooking. So you can have cooked beans. Just don't make sure they're not canned cooked beans because of the salt issue. Number 9, caffeine, coffee, tea, chocolate. Foods and beverages with caffeine are toxic and can cause severe heart, lung, and nervous system problems. Number 10, alcohol. So alcohol is lethal to chickens in very small quantities, so be careful. Number 11, no alcohol. Number 11, nicotine. All forms of nicotine, not just tobacco, are toxic to chickens. Nicotine users should ensure not to leave cigarette butts, vape liquids, smokeless tobacco, or nicotine-containing products near their chickens. In addition to ingestion, birds have a very complicated and sensitive respiratory system that makes them very sensitive to toxins in the air, making secondhand smoke a significant concern. So this list of 11 is not exhaustive, but these are some of the more common ones that we typically get contacted about. If you're not sure about something, remember, either throw it out or call up a veterinarian before you feed that to your chicken. So what can you feed your chicken? So commercially available poultry feed is inspected and specifically formulated to meet your flock's dietary needs. You know that already. While formulated feed is guaranteed to meet your bird's needs, additional treats in small amounts, remember our 5% rule, provide beneficial behavioral enrichment and encourage foraging behaviors. So in moderation, a few treats to feed your flock include scratch greens, melons, berries, pumpkins, and squash, carrots and beets, dark and leafy greens like kale, chard, and lettuce, and some perennials like daisies and ferns. It's not really adding much nutrition, but like I said, as an enrichment, I think it's a reasonable thing to consider in very small amounts. While this article discusses several foods that are toxic, it doesn't cover all possible toxins that may affect your flock. Toxins in the air, water, and soil, and your flock's environment present further health hazards. In case of a confirmed or suspected exposure to any toxic, contact your local veterinarian or one of the 2 animal poison control centers, which we put the websites online. Thanks again for listening. And if there are any topics that you would like covered on the Sitch future episodes, please reach out to me at drcluck@ucdavis.edu. Thanks. Bye.